Hello and welcome back to the Coaches Show here on 90.1 KBPK. Normally we say, hey, take a look at Sherbeck Field or the quad here on campus, but today we're not going to be on campus. Actually, you know what? Let's send it out to the golf course as Mark is currently talking with Chelsea Gutierrez, the current 2021 Orange Empire Conference champion in golf.
That's a really good question because my club head speed, like with my 7-iron, I'm between 69 and 71, which is barely regular shaft.
Right.
It's actually like on the border of senior flex and a regular shaft. So I don't have a good club head speed. My driver is maybe like 83, which is really low too.
Yeah.
So I actually wondered that myself. How do I hit the ball so far? But I think I've had 3 coaches. My second coach, when I was beginning high school, he really trained me to use the ground. And ever since then, I've hit the ball really far. For my size. I'm really small compared to I'm the smallest in my conference. So people always say like, oh, you need to get bigger. Like my current coach, when I first started with him, he wanted me to start exercising and he has a person that trains golfers to get bigger and stronger. And my dad didn't want me to. And I didn't end up doing that. And I've never done that up until I started with Fullerton College when we do weight training, but we only do that once in a week and not even every week. So really all of my power, or I use the maximum I probably can get for my size, but I don't know where it comes from. I think it's probably just my technique. I don't think I do anything too special. I mean, obviously, I get my body through.
I was going to say you must shift your weight though quickly for getting the amount of power, because I mean you're going to drive with your legs, all right? So if you're driving with your legs and you're getting your hips through, you've got to get your hips through really quick to generate the amount of power you're getting. So I mean, is your turn a very fast and a consistent fast turn?
Yeah, I've actually used like, the little pad that you can stand on and it shows you how you shift your weight. I do get my weight to my left side very quickly. I don't have a lot of lag, it's just kind of like normal amount of lag. So it really must be from my lower body using the ground where I get my power from.
So when you said to me that every once in a while you miss because you hit a shot that's right from left, and you said every once in a while you may hit a left to right shot, is that because when you get through so fast that you're dragging your hands, so therefore your hands aren't in timing? Because if you come through here and you got your hands back here, and you're striking the ball, now you're opening up the club face, and that's going to hit that left to right shot. So is that where you make the once in a while oops? Because you told me you might make a once in a while hoops on that.
That comes from, it's pretty specific. So we use a TrackMan, so this is why I know every detail of my swing.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
I figured you'd know.
With my driver specifically, usually my miss is a little bit too big of a draw. Like you never want too big of a draw, but that comes from being too inside out, and I think that comes from my backswing. So I tend to drop the club like this, like that, and that's where it gets really inside out. And I produce like a club path, there's like a number for it, and it becomes really big. And so when it becomes really big, it'll hook because my club face, even if it's open, it will still hook. That's just how it works.
That's the way you are. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're dominant right hand.
Yeah, but I'm able to normalize it a little bit better and get those straight shots or just those baby draws when I'm more down the line. I mean, it's still inside out, but it's more down the line. That's why sometimes you'll see me on the tee. I'll practice hitting cuts with my driver. I'm not ever gonna hit a cut with my driver. It's just, for me, it's not really possible.
It's not
Yeah, so I exaggerate a lot to compensate for a really inside out swing. So then when I hit the ball, it's not as drastic. But,
so we're looking at trying to find out where your speed comes from. So the obvious question is, do you pass parallel in your backswing? So I'm going to say that you're parallel, you're even to in other words, you're parallel to the ground when you're at the top of your backswing.
Yeah, pretty much. And sometimes my dad even says, I don't think you take it back far enough. So I would say I am about parallel, but when I'm not, it might be just a little bit above. So I don't take the club back really, really far or anything. And my coach even doesn't really want me to do that. It's
But
not
the power
consistent.
comes,
Yeah.
the power, especially for somebody like you that hits the ball far, most people would be amazed how far you hit it. The power actually comes though from not here going back. As you know, being a dynamic golfer the way you are, the power is coming back. So do you have a hitch or anything? I mean, do you go up and stop and then come through? I'm not trying to mess up your swing, but
No,
I mean,
yeah.
do you do that, or is yours pretty rhythmic, where you come up, you hit a point, and you come straight back down? That there's no stopping on the swing.
Yeah, I don't think I stop at the top.
Well, you
I think
know
if you
if
watch,
do.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I've seen players that do that, so
Yeah.
I don't do that. I don't think it's entirely rhythmic though. Like it's the tour players, they hit it nice and
Yeah.
like that, but it's definitely not a stop either. So it could be faster, but my swing is not like that. So
Okay,
yeah.
so then the obvious thing for the everyday player is going to say, well, then you really try to hit the ball hard. This is for the everyday golfer, not the one that's at your level. But the everyday golfer would say, well, if I want to hit it as far as her, I've got to swing harder than she does. So in your own mindset, are you somebody that comes out of your shoes when you're swinging at the golf ball? No.
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 If you watch me, you'll see I look like I swing 83 miles per hour.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really look like some players I play with, they try to hit the ball. They look like they're going to break their back, but I don't do that. I think that's something you would have to like work on. It's not something you could just be like, okay, I'm going to swing faster this time, because obviously you can miss-hit your shot. So no, I don't think I try to swing too hard or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell I keep my balance pretty well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've talked about the driving range. I was looking at her golf clubs here, and I'm looking to see if she's got anything like I have on my bag. There's no 1 iron. There's no 2 iron.
Yeah.
There's no 3 iron in your bag. I mean, I do. I have 1 through. Okay, I love hitting a 1 iron. I think it's a great club. It's the most difficult club in golf to hit. So we're looking at woods here. So I've got basically what are my woods? I've got a driver, which is your 1. You've got a 2 wood.
No, I have a 3 wood, which I never use. I have a 5 wood that I use in the fairway, and then I have a 4 hybrid, and then my next iron is 5 iron.
Okay, so your 5 wood and your 4 hybrid are basically your long irons then, that you play from the fairway.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the obvious question. Were you taught to ever hit long irons? Or if you were, did you just all of a sudden realize, because I've got Browning 440s, which are the forerunner to the hybrids. They were the first hybrids. Do you feel comfortable then more hitting that 4 wood than you would if I handed you a 2 or 3 iron?
Yeah.
And is that why you use it?
Yeah, even my 5 iron, I try to avoid using that
Really?
every time I play. I only feel confident using it when I'm off the tee. But in the fairway, if the lie is not perfect and the ball's not sitting up on a really nice piece of grass, I won't use it.
So what do? You get in that position, then what are you going to hit?
I use my 4 hybrid and I choke down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you basically hit a 3/4 shot.
Yeah.
With your 4
Yeah.
hybrid, and hopefully that you judge it right.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's say you hit it at your average drive is what?
Right now maybe 220.
220. So
Yeah.
let's say we have 160 yards to the hole. What are you going to take out of your bag?
I will use my 4 hybrid and I'll choke down a little bit. Not
Okay.
entirely, because I can go all the way here, but I also maybe go about halfway.
Okay, so your
grip.
4 hybrid goes from 160 to what then? If you go all the way to the end, how far can you hit that hybrid?
Maybe like 175. That's like my best shot. Like hitting it from fairway into the fairway again, rolling. So yeah, I think it's about 175.
So you've got 15 yards on that. When I hit the 5 wood, I'm hitting that about how far?
180 to, and then the best conditions like rolling to 200.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty nice for a 5 wood.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice, because you don't hit your 3 woods, you pass it up. That used to be my favorite thing, because you get the little degree up on the face, so you get the height on a 3 wood. A 3 wood has a tendency to roll more if you hit it properly. So the distance you're getting in your 5 wood is outstanding.
Yeah.
We've talked about the drivers and everything. We sort of talked about mid-range. I got to ask you, you're around A chipping green. Okay, drive for show. Putt for dough is the old adage in golf, and it still pays today. So let's say that we get down here by the green and you've got to pull a club out of your bag to chip with. What do you use?
I never choose one club. Whenever I leave my bag like on the cart path, I always bring two or three clubs because I don't have a club that I always go to around the green. Every shot's different. I like to roll the ball as fast as I can. I don't like to lift it and drop it next to the hole or even 6 feet from the hole and let it roll or anything like that because that's not efficient.
So you like an 8-iron around the green?
8-iron would be a really long shot, so I would say 9 and wedge and then 54. I almost never use my 58 unless it's super tight or I'm in the sand and it's really tight. Even in the sand, I like to use my 54.
So you don't like popping the ball up around the green, letting it hop twice and trickle? You would rather lay it out there and take off and let it roll 50 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like where he is,
Yeah.
and he's going to maybe that flag, I'd use probably like a 9 or a wedge and try to hit it just onto the green and let it roll.
And you're going to let it roll from there. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're using something with a lot of loft, but you're taking if you're doing that, do you change the face on it and take the loft? See, he's got my Beckley right now. And there's a Beckley. I mean, that's a chipper. And the Beckley's shorter. It's classic club. I've had it so long. My dad owned that before me. And basically you take like a nice little swing, which is almost like a putting swing with it. So you have nothing like that in your bag that you use?
No, I don't, but I do always, when I chip like that, I do deal off the club and I get close to the ball.
And do you close the face a little?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
that's how I get it even lower than, I don't really, try to chip it high. I try to hit it low.
This is going to be a long interview,
Yeah.
Ryan. You're saying one more question. Ryan's telling me one more question. I can't do this in one more question. So I'm going to ask her two, and then you're going to have to edit it. Because I want to ask her what sort of putter she is. And you tell me if you're a good one or not, honestly.
I don't think I'm a good putter.
So your score. So what you're telling me then is your scores and the scores that you shoot, because you shoot low, you're rated 5th in the state. That's all from tee to green.
No, I don't think so either. I think every round, one thing is on, one thing is off.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think, at my sharpest, everything would have to be good.
Right.
So, like this past week, I didn't think my putting was great. On Monday, I missed maybe 5 of these.
Okay.
But then I corrected that for Wednesday, but I couldn't make a single 15-putt birdie putt. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
See, because the reason I'm asking you this, because I know you're a good golfer. You've got fantastic qualities to yourself. You hit the schneid out of a golf ball out there. You and I are almost dead even. What's going to make you win that hole against me? What do you lean on? That's what I'm looking for right here. You're going to look at me and say, Mark, I can out-putt you. So if we get there and we're both 18 feet away and I need my birdie, I know I'm going to beat you. How would you look at me as a competitor? What part of your game would you say, you know what, this is the part of my game I lean on?
Right now, my irons are really sharp.
Okay.
I'm getting a lot of them close. If you put me maybe 80 yards and below, I think I can get it within 5 feet.
Okay.
And then that's where, 5 feet putt, I don't think I'm going to make it every time, but I think it's a better chance than a 15-foot putt. So I think that's how I get my birdies, and that's how I make par sometimes too. So I think my irons are the best right now.
Okay.
And if you get it close enough, you more likely make the putt than if it's farther away. So yeah, I think that's what it is right now.
Okay, my producer said I had one more question. I took 2, because the biggest question of golf, you're out there by yourself. It's a mental game. There's nobody to lean on. I know your coach can be walking with you, but he may give you a couple tips, but you're playing. They're going to leave you alone. You're playing against me again. You've got to beat me to win the state championship. Mentally, grade yourself as a competitor.
As a competitor, I think I'm an A. I think mentally,
You're an A?
yeah, maybe like an A minus.
Wow, wow.
And It's because I've played for a long time and I've played many tournaments, so I know
Okay,
every
wait a
type
minute.
of.
Wait a minute. You're 18?
I'm 19.
Oh, God, she's 19. I'm sorry, people. She's 19. She's a no golfer. How many years is many years?
9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
9 years, and you're an A to an A minus mentally on the course. Is
For
what
the
you're
most part,
Okay.
I think. I mean, as a competitor, I've seen a lot of different. I mean, the people I play with now are no different from the people I played with all my life. So, I mean, I haven't played with anyone so much older and better, like a professional. So obviously, I don't know how they present themselves on the course. But the players that I play with, like, I know every type of player. So I know how they try to get to bother you, and then I know those that like might be annoying, or I know those who might cheat. So I've
I love that. I know those who might
yeah,
cheat.
and I know who the girls or the players that try to get in your head. So I
So
know
you're-
how to react around them, and I know what type of players are. So that's why I think I'm an A minus, because I know who I'm playing against. So like I know how they are, and I think I'm better now than I was like in high school or when I was in middle school. When I was younger, I know like I'm so much better than what I used to be, because I don't really get mad at myself anymore. I try to like think that nothing's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I try to shake things off, and I think I've been doing really good at that lately.
Well, you get ready for state. I want to congratulate you on that. You're 5th in the state of California right now, and you get ready for the state championship. I tell you what, if we at sportsnetusa.net could tell bookies, hey, people are putting money on this, the young lady next to me can do it. I thought I could hit a golf ball. I'm nothing compared to her when it comes for pound to pound. And attitude-wise, she's sincere, she's wonderful, she's pleasant to be around. But let me tell you, if you just bet your Tesla on the 18th hole, just start signing your ownership papers away, because this young woman is going to end up beating you. You are dynamic. I would love to carry your clubs if your coach would let me, but then he'd hate my advice, because I'd look at you and say, yeah, you could get there. You could get there. Hit the ball. You are dynamic. The best of luck. Have a great time.
Thank you.
#1 golfer for Fullerton College. I'm going to say it now. If she doesn't win the state championship, she's going to be 2 or 3. So I've already put the onus on you, but that's the way I feel about you, because you're that dynamic. You're that sure of your game. You love the game of golf, and boy, you can talk the game. And if you can talk the game and back it up like you can, not me, you've got a great chance of winning. Have a ball out there. Thanks for talking to me. It was fun. This is Mark. Tell them who you are.
I'm Chelsea Gutierrez.
Wait a minute, I didn't hear that.
I'm Chelsea Gutierrez.
I want to hear that A personality one more time.
I'm Chelsea Gutierrez.
And there's Chelsea, who's going to walk away with that championship week here on 90.1 KBPK.
So once again, we want to thank Mark and also Chelsea Gutierrez for joining us on the show this week. We're going to switch gears, go over to football, where there's a big-time matchup coming up this upcoming Saturday. That's right, this weekend, Golden West and Fullerton in a battle of the booths will end up facing each other in a critical matchup. This game, huge repercussions and opportunities for either of these two sides. For Fullerton, well, if they end up winning, let's put it lightly, they have a chance to get into the playoff. Golden West, with a win, would clinch a conference championship and would find themselves in the playoff automatically and hosting as well. So if Fullerton wins, they're in, and Golden West is the at-large bid. On the other side for Golden West, if they win, they're in the playoff and hosting for the first time in quite some time. So when you look at Golden West and Fullerton, just how good they've been this season, you see it right there. The coaches poll and also the sports information director poll in the state of California reflecting exactly how good they've been. Top 10 for both of these two teams. Golden West College, 9-0 this year, top 4 in the state of California. You go Ventura, San Mateo, San Francisco, Golden West. All 4 of those teams at 9-0 to this point in the season. Fullerton, with a 7-2 record, sits at number 7. When you include the coaches poll as well, it's pretty much mirrored almost exactly the same. San Mateo, Ventura, San Francisco, and then Golden West College in the top 4 as the only 2 unbeaten opponents. Now, Golden West in both of those polls is gaining ground, and you also see Fullerton starting to creep up there in the 7 and the 8 spot. So both those two teams, it's a huge matchup. Number 4 versus number 7 or 8, depending on the poll. But where it really comes down to it is these conference standings. Golden West is 4-0, and with a victory would assure themselves 5-0 and a conference championship. Fullerton, with a win this weekend, would own the tiebreaker, and a win against San Diego Mesa would still end up winning the conference championship because they'd have the same record as Golden West College. You see it right there, a little bit more focus. 4-0 versus 3-0. Golden West, 172 points for, only 34 points against. Fullerton, right up there as well, 111 points for, 36 points against. These two teams have a lot of comparables, a lot in common, besides just being county rivals and also conference rivals as well. When you look at Golden West College, 9-0, 4-0 in conference. They've won, of course, their last 9, but you also have to include that forfeit that Bakersfield gave up and gives another win to Golden West. 433 yards of total offense per game, 173 yards rushing, 260 in the air. We'll get to a little bit more on that in just a minute, but those averages are really good, especially if you want to go to the defensive side at just 76 rushing yards allowed. Fullerton, to this point, they show 6-2. You also add in that forfeit because of Santa Ana, 429 yards that they get in total offense. Very close and very similar to Golden West College. 3-0 in conference, 189 yards on the ground, 240 in the air, just about 15-16 behind Golden West College. Rushing yards allowed, 65 a game. When you look at the two teams and how they're comparable in terms of schedule, you started off with Fullerton. Their only loss in the last 4 weeks of play was against El Camino, 35-28, where they had a lead, weren't able to keep it, and just weren't able to get that tying touchdown late in that game. San Bernardino Valley, they beat them 49-6. The rushing game was huge. Southwestern, 31-0, a shutout. And then just eking out a win, 31-30 against Saddleback. They have a little momentum, but not nearly as much as you'll see Golden West College here in just a second. Long Beach, 37-20. That came after another 37-20 win over number 1 Riverside at the time. Then you go down to Southwestern, shutout, 45-0. They play Saddleback at home, 34-3. San Bernardino Valley was the only scare in that time, but they beat them with 35 straight points, and they were dominant against San Diego Mesa, which brings us to this matchup. Now, if you want to look at overall defense between these two sides, we'll get to more on individual defense in a little. But points per game, these two teams, fantastic. Top 6 for either side. 11.6 points per game for Golden West, 16.3 for Fullerton. Golden West leads the state in sacks with 37 overall, 25 for Fullerton. That's going to be a big category this Saturday when they face off against one another. If you want to take a look at individual players, quarterback position, Jake Retzlaff this year, looking like he might be the conference offensive player of the year. 2,335 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, along a 72 and 152.5 efficiency rating. He has really been stellar for Golden West College this season. You flip it over to the other team. Chandler Galban, Trey Edwards. Those are the top 2 for the team, but Chandler has been starting to get more and more reps as the season goes along as the pure starter. 106 of 174, a 61% completion rate, 1,002 yards passing, 186 in the air. He's got 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a long of 71. But more crucial for Galban is the fact that when it really comes down to late game situations, he has this under his belt. That long toss over Saddleback to get them the win is going to kind of play crucial in his mentality going into this upcoming weekend against Golden West College. You want to compare the two rushing sides. It's a 4-person attack for Golden West. Gianni Hurd, Mike Carrillo, Jared Johnson. Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback, also has some rushing yardage as well. Carrillo, straight up rusher. Gianni Hurd bounces it to the outside, and Jared Johnson is that Swiss Army knife, bounce it everywhere, and you're going to get stats and yardage with him. That rushing game was actually really crucial, as you see here, in that win against San Diego Mesa just this last week for Golden West College. They were able to use that rushing game, especially behind Gianni Hurd, to get them a lot of success and points. When you look at Fullerton College, it starts with Brandon Rankins in terms of importance, and it kind of ends there as well. You go to Trey Edwards, backup quarterback, but getting a lot of yardage. Ryan Black has been a revelation in the small time that we've seen him get those reps. Just 27 carries, 179, 3 touchdowns, and that long of 60. Receiving game, this is going to be a battle. Fullerton and Golden West, as you see Devin Moore's touchdown last week against Saddleback, but we talk about that receiving game, very comparable between both of these two sides. Because you look at how the receivers work for either team, a lot of slot receivers. Kashawn Griffin on one side, Torrance Wiseman was spectacular. Also, Tanner Branson has been huge for Golden West College. This is one of the best receiving corps in the entire state of California, and they really showed it this last week against San Diego Mesa in the second half, when they rattled off a lot of consecutive points. Kashawn Griffin on the other side in the receiving corps for Fullerton College, in addition to Deontay Thomas, 29 receptions, 18, 16, 12, 10, and 10, and they have the yardage to rack up behind it as well. 363, 271, 162, 156. They crank it out consistently. And again, if we roll it back to that play against Saddleback College, where Galban had to roll to his right and got Thomas in the back of the end zone, it was huge. Those receivers have been huge for Fullerton College. You look at the defenses, here's where it's going to get down to the nitty-gritty. Fullerton and San Diego Mesa, 2 of the top defenses in the entire state of California. Just this last week against San Diego Mesa, they got 2 interceptions, that's Golden West, in the white. 2 interceptions, one by Kylan Neal, one by Prince Ford. One of them was to the house, as you'll see on this play, where Golden West got their first defensive touchdown of the season. They were looking for it. They finally got it in the form of a pick 6. They also, again, lead the state in sacks, lead the state in tackles for loss. This is a suffocating defense for Golden West College. But mirror-wise, you look at Fullerton, they're just equally as good. You look at how Fullerton this season has Jonathan Smith in the secondary, Chandler Brown in the secondary, helping lead them in tackles. Isaac Hurtado as a linebacker, Jalen Early as a linebacker, Junior Wiley, all 3 of those getting better as each week goes along. And as you talk to some of the coaches, that defensive line has been shut down and, plain and simple, one of the best in the entire state. And it's led by Troy McDonald. So the 2 defenses for either of those 2 teams are going to be crucial, and we'll see how that plays out on Saturday. So, Fullerton College, Golden West College coming up from Golden West. That is where the site will be for what is essentially the conference championship game between the Rustlers and the Hornets. Now, if you want to tune into that game, you can tune in to our sister station, as you can take a look at sportsnetusa.net. Watch it all live there. Battle of the Boots. Myself, Ryan Osborne, Corey Nalen, Mark Pavlovich, the franchise, Rashawn Haylock, all going to be out there as we get set for Golden West and Fullerton. That is a 12 p.m. start on Saturday the 13th. So, Golden West and Fullerton, that's our matchup coming up. We also want to thank Chelsea Gutierrez for joining us in addition to the golf team at Fullerton College, joining us this week on The Coaches Show. So, for Mark Pavlovich, I am Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining us. You've been watching The Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK.